So welcome to this first part where we will set up an EC2 instance. We will set up a Lambda function and CloudWatch logs, and we will give proper permission to the Lambda to access the EC2 instance and also to write some logs in the CloudWatch. So that's the purpose of this first part. Okay. So as you can see, I am in right now in US West 1. I generally use this North Virginia region, but they are all my setup is ready in there. So I just change the region. So without any further delay, we'll just create an EC2. By the way, I'm just using the default VPC default configuration which is already there, like default VPC, default internet gateways. If you want to create your own VPC, your own networking, you need to create some route tables, internet gateway, subnets, different things that we are not gonna go into that deep because that's not the part of this video. I'll just go to the instance quickly. I'll click on the launch instance. So I'll give it test. Name is test. It will be Ubuntu. Choose the minimum one, which is not this one. I'm not using any key pair because we don't need any key pair. Like the main purpose of this video or this topic is to start and stop the VM. We don't need the access of the VM. Okay. By the way, if you like most of the time you need a key pair to log in into the VM. Without this key pair, we can't even log in. But for this now, I am not going to create any key pair. I just leave that blank here. Existing security group, default, and launch instance. So proceed without keeper. It will prompt you that note you will not be able to connect to this instance. Blah blah blah. So yeah, we don't need this VM to access. Okay, so proceed without keeper. So yeah, our instance is it's pending state. So it will take some time to start. Okay, we'll wait. So yeah, now our VM is running. So that part is done. So our VM is running. Now our job is to create a Lambda function which will automatically start and stop this VM. Okay, that is good. Now, for a Lambda function, to Lambda function is a serverless function where you can write some codes and it will execute in a serverless method. Okay, serverless. It is a fully serverless thing. Now, let's go to that main homepage of AWS. Now, here you can see there is a Lambda. Now, here in the left side of window, you will find there is a function option where you can write your function. So before that, to run a Lambda function, whenever Lambda function runs, it creates some logs. Okay, the logs will be collected by CloudWatch. If you just go and create a function, suppose I'm giving a test function, suppose anything I'm giving here, you will see it will create a role by default. But we will not gonna do that. We'll create our own role. Okay, and we'll use that role. It will be more, it will be a little complex, but it'll you have an understanding how it works. Okay, now let's create a role. Go to the IAM. So IAM is global. There is your roles, right? So I have a couple of roles already here predefined. I will not use that one. I will create, for this video I will create a new role. So this role will be used by Lambda, and what are the permission this role will have. So Lambda will use this role, and whatever permission this role have, Lambda will check that role and do whatever you written in the code level. Okay, so the first thing Lambda needs is the EC2 access to start and stop and do whatever task. So you can just type EC2 and see there is one option is there, EC2 full access. Okay, so Lambda will have a access of all your EC2 machine and EC2 full access. You can start, you can stop, you can delete everything. This one role we need. So just next, and that's all. Okay, I need to give the role name. So, suppose yeah. If you go to the roles, you will see your role is created successfully. Yeah. So now, if I cannot assign this role to the Lambda right now because Lambda also needs something. Whenever Lambda function runs, as I told before, it needs to write some logs. So I need to give some permission here. I need to give some policies, you can say, so that it can write its logs to the CloudWatch. CloudWatch is a log management service provided by AWS. Okay. So I need to attach a policy. So previously, you can see I have a couple of policies I have created manually, but for now, I will create a policy over here. Policy will allow any role, whichever have the policy, to write some logs. Okay. Now, select a service means where the policy will apply for which service. So it will be logs. Now this will be if you go to the write operation to, to write the logs in the CloudWatch, Lambda needs three basic permission, which is create log group, create log events, and put log events. Put events. This one, log stream. The log group will allow Lambda function to create a log group in CloudWatch. Log stream will allow to create a log stream in that specific group, and put log events is just a permission so that Lambda function will push that log to that particular stream which is currently flowing. Okay, and here I am not mentioning anything. If you have a log stream or log group, you can specifically mention that one here for more control, but I am just keeping it blank. So Lambda function will create its own log group and log stream. Next, policies. That's it. Create the policy. Policy is created. Now go back to this page and refresh this one. You can see write logs. Yeah. Now you can add this permission over here. Now if you go to your roles, which role we have created, this one, it has a permission of writing logs and also it has a permission of accessing the whole EC2, whatever EC2 we have. Now we will attach this role to our Lambda function. Lambda, go to the functions. Now create a function to start our VM. Start EC2 written on Python. You can use any language you want, and if you know the AWS library, that's all. So change execution role, use existing role. So I already have created a role. So it will be Lambda access EC2. This role we will use, which have a permission to access EC2 as well as writing the logs in the CloudWatch. Okay. Hit the function. At the same time, I will create another function over here. It will be stop EC2. permission. You can use same role for different function, as many as function you want. So the lambda access will be the role. Check once. It is the correct lambda access is the correct role. Now I had a start. I have two functions over here. One is start is 2 and then stop is 2. Now let's just test with one. Okay. So to communicate with AWS services, you need Boto3, which is the library of AWS for Python environment, or I think for other languages also. I don't know, but for Python we use Boto3 to interact with AWS resources. Okay. Now I will just import Boto3, and client will be, for which client I am doing, it will be EC2. Name will be, this will be US one. Just check that thing quickly. What actually, and anyways, you can go to that documentation anytime if you want to, like, see more details. So just check as a region mentioned here. I think region name is the correct abbreviation. Uh, let's just print our client. What is it? Deploying the code, like the function test, we need to give some test events, which is keeping the by default. What is the value is there? Now it's running perfectly fine. Now to start our VM, or right now our VM, if you see from here, our VM is running. So if you go to the documentation, you will see, go to the documentation and you will find available service, start instance. So this function will allow you to start an instances, a set of instances. So just, uh, also here you need to mention the instance ID for which instance you want to start. So you can just mention it's a list, so you can mention as many as instances you want. Here I need to mention the instance ID, which is this one, and we want to print the output. That's all for now. Let's just test this one. So you can see we got a response. What response? Starting instances, current state. The current state of the instance is running. Instance ID previous status running. So currently our instance is running, and previously also it was running. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is that. So meanwhile, we have given the permission to the Lambda function to write the logs in the CloudWatch. If you remember, so if you go to the CloudWatch right now, you'll see some logs over there as we are running the Lambda function. Oops. Logs group. Yeah. As you can see, there is a log group and there's the streams. Now, what this stream suggests, you can see whatever logs it's printing on this in the Lambda output, it is printing over there. Okay. So you can see it's the same thing. It's the log group. Whatever. So we will just quickly set up the same for yeah stop EC2. Okay. So this is the start EC2 printing. So yeah. So I don't want to return anything. And you can modify, like you can give some this is the dictionary, so you can only check like current status and give some bracket and take the name of currently running previous running. I'm not going to do that. You can take your time and do that, like raise, then this is the output of the dictionary. You can give a third bracket and access this item first, then inside this item first, then this item first, and you know, actually running, you can get your own kind of logs. I'm not going to do that. So I'll just quickly copy this one and go to stop instance. And, and if you go to the documentation right now, there is a stop option is there. See the stop instance. So it's similar. So just you need to mention here stop. That's all. And remember one thing, running this thing also, it will create also a new log group where it will print out all its log streams. Now let's test this one. Yeah, current status is current status stopping, previous status stopping. So I think I hit 2 times, so that's why. So if you go to the CloudWatch, no, let's first check here. You see the instance stopping. Yeah, the basic functionality I think it's done. Like you create two function, one is EC2 start and EC2 stop, which will allows you to run some codes and start and stop your VM. So let's just wait for a couple of minutes to refresh this one. Stopping, it will stop eventually after some time. If I go to that start EC2, you will see something. Right now our VM is stopping, okay? Stopping or stopped, probably. Just expand this thing, run this thing. Check. What is the error setting? And error. No, right now is starting fine. Yeah, its current status is pending. Previous status was stopped. So previously it was stopped. Current status is pending. Means it's starting. Okay. Go to here. It's pending. It will start eventually. Okay. So this is the first part where we have set up an EC2 instance with default configuration. We have set up a role where Lambda function will use that role to access EC2 resources, and we'll also have permission to write logs in the CloudWatch. In the next part of the video, we'll set up the event bridge to create and send events in a scheduled manner, in a minute or in a chronological order, or in a schedule. Like if you want to for 1 to 7 days or particular time frame, we'll set up the event bridge to send event or invoke this function in a particular time frame so that it can be a schedule. Okay, that's all for the part one. uh, just follow the part two for the rest of the time. Okay.